The film crew continues its expedition to Namangan region. Their goal is to shoot the beauty of this region, tourism opportunities and other similar processes, as well as to prepare a series of programs. In the last episode of the program, the topic was ended as the group descends from the cave of Ongar. Today we are about to continue the show right here. They come to the apartment where the poet and teacher Rabbiddin Isakov lived and worked. He is the youngest child. Farhad Isakov greets the team. The name of the village of Paramon, where we stand, means height, altitude from the ancient Greek word par and mon, means place, corner. This mountain we see is the Ongar mountain range. We live 850 meters above sea level. The character of the people is similar. After a short conversation in the yacht, they entered the room where the works and belongings of Rabbiddin Isakov's life and work are stored. Previously, the poet first taught native language and literature at school, but because of his devotion to folklore, he collected 30 volumes of folklore masterpieces during the lifetime. Today, these works have become the property of the people are kept in the Institute of Manuscripts named after Hamid Suleymanov. My father collected interesting phrases from the people, which have now become the property of the people, with unique comments. He collected exemplary words, pedagogical and philosophical thoughts during his lifetime. His 3 books were printed. First book, Song Accompanies on My Way, was published in 1953 under the editorship of Irgun Wahidov. Following that, the book Lemon Falls on the Moon was published in cooperation with Adel Abdurrahman. Then Song of the Boots came out in print. Rabbiddin Isakov loved children very much. To increase the motivation of young students to read and learn, the lessons were held in the form of games and activities. Due to his deep knowledge of folklore, there were many older people among the fans of his lessons. This element also played an important role in the work of Rabbiddin Isakov.
Dadamiz asosan bola shoir edilar.
Dad wrote poems mainly for children. He liked talking to children. If school children were coming from school, he would say, "Well, kids, are you coming?" With A grades bags full. Even when he went to school, he would say, "Children, I have 5 A grades in my pocket. Who will get them?"
Bayt uchun ham, fardi uchun ham 5 bahola bilan taqdirlaganlar.
Over the years, this sincere man has collected samples of folklore in which the people's pain, anxiety, experience, and joy are expressed. Later, through newspapers and magazines, fans of his work increased not only throughout the country, but also in the countries of the world. As a consequence, Rabbiddin Isakov continued to receive letters from all over the world. Creative couplets began to be sung. The letter from Great Britain, letters from Mali, Turkmenistan, as well as from Ukraine, from Pitkun, Grachov, Moscow, and so on. The Pravda newspaper published an article entitled "Gathered Bit by Bit." What was it about? It was about folklore. In the 1950s and 1960s, the poem "To the Kyrgyz Girl," which has become a hit in modern parlance, was sung by many singers. His poems were sung by Shirali Jo'rayev and Olimjon Mirashurov.
Olimjon Mirashurovlar tomonidan
Ramadan Isakov's mentor was the people's poet of Uzbekistan, Mir Temir. Mir Temir's contribution to the popularization of the poet's work was significant. Many of our famous writers also respected Ramadan Isakov because of the philosophical, thought-provoking ideas in his works. Many signatures of Mir Temir are kept in the museum. A letter from the poet Zulfiya, written in 1955, is preserved. Mentor Mir Temir was like a father to my father, very generous. Today, Ramadan Isakov's work is continued by the children, who publish his works in the form of books. According to them, the author's unpublished manuscripts for the next 100 years have been preserved. The Writer's House Museum has now become a place of enlightenment. In addition to tourists, young artists from the region often visit here for advice and consultations. Folklorists from abroad are also conducting research using the creative work of Ramadan Isakov. Leaving the House Museum of Ramadan Isakov, the creative team goes to the house of 100-year-old Muhammad Ibrahim Ota Inamov, a participant of the Second World War. They are passing by a village kindergarten. There are many enlightened people in Paramount who are constantly helping to make the activities of the educational institutions in the village more effective.
Paramount qishlog'i juda qadimdan bor. Paramount qishlog'ini mazmuni.
The village of Paramount is very ancient, and the word Paramount means peak that leads to heights. Now there are 3 mahallas in our village: Paramount, Oktepa, and No. More than 7,000 people live in each part of the 3 neighborhoods. There are more than 1,000 apartments. Mostly Uzbeks live here, and Kyrgyz people live in No Mahalla. They now live as a separate neighborhood. In addition, Tatars and Karakalpaks live in our village. There is sincere friendship, mutual respect among them, which is strong. You see, nature is very beautiful, as the hearts of our people are frank and open. Paramount is very cool in summer, so many tourists come here. They mostly like to stay in ordinary country houses, cook in the oven, take a walk in its nature. They walk through the streets of the village and reach the destination. After seeing an old man, they talk to him for a while. The father first speaks about his youth, the history of the village and its nature. I was born and raised in this village. I was orphaned when I was 4 years old. I was 14 years old when my father died. I was raised by my uncle and then my sisters. I'm an educated person. Our village is located in such a place that the sunrise is on the mountain, the sunset is on the mountain, and the top is a mountain. Paramount village is located in a wonderful place. In the past, the village was located on the banks of a large stream, and these lands were Tugai. I have heard from my ancestors they gradually lost these Tugai and then built a house on the hillside. Previously, there were few educated people in the village. This situation has afflicted educated people like Father Muhammad Raham. Today, the number of educated people in the village is growing. The old man was also pleased to say that the generous people in the village helped to build facilities such as kindergartens and schools for the children to study.
Bundaqa zaman sira bo'lmagan. Bunga shukr qilish kerak.
There has never been such a time. We should be thankful for that. When I came after the war and saw the condition of the village, there was not even bread to eat. If oats were found, my father would make flour, put it in a pot, light a fire, and make porridge this way. And sometimes we couldn't even find it. So after the war, year by year, thanks to the hard work of our young people, with the help of many good people, our village has developed.
Shular tufayli qishlog'imiz juda rivojlandi.
Father Muhammad Ibrahim is still constantly aware of the news in our country and in the world. I always hear the news. My daughter-in-law reads the daily news on the phone. When my great-grandson comes home from school, he reads, I have 10 children. I taught 7 of them. 5 of them have higher education, and 2 of them have secondary special education. All of them are living independently. Now they have their own grandchildren. I have lots of grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-great-children. Close to 200 if you count.
200ga yaqinlashib boradi sanasangiz.
Do you know the names of all of them? Can you remember? I can recognize when they come. Many people from the region and the village have been asking Muhammad Ibrahim's father for advice, and he has always been giving them appropriate instructions. Father Muhammad Ibrahim himself followed these tips all his life. He also equated mental activity with physical labor. That is, in addition to teaching at school, he also worked as a carpenter in the village. These are the secrets of the longevity of the old man.
Ibn Sina aytgan ekanlar.
Ibn Sina said that he was leaving 5 disciples. The first, he said, is cleanness. The second, he said, everyone's temperament. The third is physical training labor. The fourth is the diet, to eat what you like and not what you don't like. The latter, he says, is good mood, that a person will live a long time if he pays attention to his mood. I did that. I am very strict to purity. I used to make a lot of work at home. Let me tell you about my work. I would teach children until noon. I would do people's orders in the afternoon. One would ask to cover the roof, another would say something else. I am interested in carpentry. I covered all these roofs myself. I also give advice to my children. I will tell my opinion to anyone who comes to see me.
Mani ko'rgan kishiga albatta men o'z fikrimni aytaman da o'g'lim.
The conversation with Father Muhammad Ibrahim was very heated. He talked more than he thought. He are openly amazed at their attention. Their deep understanding of that he knows more than we know from today's news. Even though he wants to sit and speak a little more in order to not to bother the father much, the crew asks to bless the country and the tea. Then we were familiarized with the little house museum made by the father's children. We named our museum, Let Your Life Be a Model for Us. My father and mother lived together for 70 years. Our mother died at the age of 95 years. My father is 100 years old, thanks to God. The purpose of establishing this museum is, first of all, to display our parents to go through hard times, wars, deprivations, famines, and today they see 5 generations: grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. We want our parents to be the model to young generation. Therefore, we called it Let Your Life Be a Model to Us. There are many blessings in the world, but the highest of them is probably mother love. In any case, under any circumstances, they will take care of their children. Muhammad Ibrahim's father's children have their mother's portrait being drawn in response of their respect. My mother used to say, I always came home with you in one hand, a cradle in the other, and firewood on my head. I ordered for an artist to draw this scene. My father was a teacher before lunch and a carpenter after lunch. This is also is being drawn. Almost all of the items from the last 100-150 years can also be found, because the items and pictures belonging to their parents have been placed in this small museum. Money, household items, telephones, coins, sparklers, pottery, presidential gifts, all these allow us to travel to the recent past. The expedition crew leaves the house of the father Muhammad Ibrahim. Now they plan to go to Nanai, the last address in the region. Along the way, they enter a sumalak cooking house in the village. We all stare it up turn by turn, wishing all the best. May our wheat be fruitful. Let our tables be full. We hope that our people will be full of joy and happiness during the holiday.
Yaxshi niyatlarni qilib yursin deb niyatlayman.
Sumalak is being prepared by 13 houses in the neighborhood. They have been making sumalak twice every spring for almost 30 years.
Where there is sumalak, there is abundance and blessing. There has been no rain in our village this year yet. It has been raining since we started making sumalak. We gather with our neighborhood every year and make sumalak twice. May spring bring fruitfulness to all. Peace be upon you.
When the spring meal is cooked, most of it will be given away to the neighbors. In particular, they send to children and relatives who are studying or working in another region or country. There are 5 streets in our neighborhood. At this time, the population on each street is cooking sumalak in the group of 10 or 15. Sumalak is cooked in hundreds of pots. Not only do they eat it themselves, they give it away to relatives, neighbors and others. This is a donation of spring food. There are various interesting myths and legends about the history of sumalak among the people. Here the spring meal is called Fatima Mother's Sumalak. Sumalak cooking has long been considered a very vital national event. Only people who were known among the people for their justice, honesty, and purity took part in the main process of cooking it, from wheat to firewood. It's kept clean. In particular, the germination of wheat also had its own secrets, and not everyone was able to do it.
After the wheat is thoroughly cleaned and all of the broken and unusable ones are removed, it is placed in water in a bowl for 3 days. 3 days later, it has placed in the sack. It also stays in the sack for 3 days. After 3 days, when it begins to bud, wheat is spread on the board. The wheat on the board is watered 4 times a day. Then the wheat begins to sprout. Then if sumalak is made from this sprouted wheat, it will be very sweet and delicious.
They leave the house where the sumalak is cooked and head for Nanai. After 14 minutes, they arrive at the Aydın Shifa Ongur resort. There are conditions for rest in the year. Officials say other facilities are planned in the future. It flows like a waterfall from our caves. In these places they sit in the summer and relax in rooms which are adapted for a cool rest. How many people can it fit? This place is designed for 500 people. We have fresh air and grass here. It has all the conditions suitable for tourists. After filming at the resort, they head to the great house Gulzeba Gulnaza, which was the first to open in Namangan region. It is 5:10 p.m. when they arrive the destination. At this time, the nature of the area seems more attractive. It hasn't been long since the guest house was set up, but enough customer and revenue has been achieved during this period.
Dastlab er-xotin ish boshlaganmiz bu yerda biz. Bitta xonadan.
Initially, we started our business with my wife here in one room. Now we have 25 rooms. In addition to our family, we created 20 more job places. We achieved this in 2 years. Bank loans have been a great encouragement to us in developing these. Having built these structures, we are now expanding the space. In addition, we want to build a conference hall for 50 more people and 3 large cottages with all amenities. This is our goal for this year.
Qurmoqchimiz. Hamma sharoitlar ichida. Shu yerga qo'ygan maqsadimiz shu.
Each region has its own nature and uniqueness that cannot be found anywhere else. When tourists go on vacation, they want to see the original situation itself. He wants to live in a natural environment. He wants to taste the food of the local people. The work of this guest house, which takes into account these aspects, has developed well to this day. And here now work is underway to establish other directions of tourism. We only work during the summer. Now we have conditions to work even in winter. When it snows, the tourists are interested in snowmobile sledding as well as horseback riding. We have arranged rooms for the winter and set up gastronomic tourism. We have created conditions for sleeping guests to eat and rest, taking advantage of conditions. To date, in cooperation with travel companies to attract tourists to the guest house, they are running the pages of the guest house on social media. Tourists rarely come from abroad. We are now working on it. Now currently our main customers are locals. They also come from Namangan region, Andijan, Ferghana as well as Tashkent. We have established cooperation. Today we also signed an agreement with Fergana region. We agreed to organize a one-day excursion to attract tourists here. We have a channel on YouTube. We have a website, we have a Telegram channel. We made it possible for the families to stay and have a rest. They have their own separate kitchen. They cook and eat whatever they want and breathe fresh air. This site is organized for gastronomic tourism. They can come and take a day off.
Kunlik dam olib, hordiq chiqarib ketishadi.
After that, they watch the inside of the guest house and get acquainted with its conditions. They watch the preparation of beshbarmak. More and more beshbarmak fans are coming here. Beshbarmak is one of the main dishes of Kyrgyz national cuisine. At the same time, it's the dish of many Turkic people. The word beshbarmak consists of two words, besh 5 and barmak fingers. The name stems from the fact the nomads ate food by hand without using kitchen utensils. When we came to the first guest house in Namangan region, we saw that everything is designed for tourists. Seats and separate rooms for summer and winter. A variety of shaded trees give us fresh air and good mood. Now the famous beshbarmak, which is famous all over the valley, is ready for the guests. This is the end of the trip to Namangan region. The staff of the media department of the Namangan regional administration makes a great contribution to the activeness of this expedition. The film crew thanks their friends and says goodbye to them. They start back to Tashkent.